Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we actually have a very cool strap review for you guys. If you're wondering about this watch, it's the DEKLA Turbulenz. It's a model that I personally spec'd out myself years ago. It's real great bang per buck in terms of having options for hardened steel, upgraded movement, your choice of kind of dial. A lot of things are happening in-house in terms of them, painting their own hands and dials. So very, very cool company, great brand. But what I really wanted to highlight today is this great strap from Bonetto Cinturini. Now, a little bit about them. They're a family-run company, originally founded by Torino Bonetto, and that was over 40 years ago, and now it's run by his daughter Mathilde. Pretty much for the past 15 years or so. They're really known for their extensive line of rubber watch straps, all made in Italy, of course, with that signature vanilla scent. And Bonetto Cinturini, really, they produce these great OEM rubber drive straps. For a lot of the world's most famous watches. So not only do they make aftermarket stuff, they actually even, will make stuff so, that come OEM on a watch. So, they make good quality stuff. Now, this is their model 3300. It's one that I found specifically kind of on my own journey here. Bonetto Cinturini probably don't even know my channel exists, but lucky for me, their stuff isn't super expensive. So if I want to try it, $45 later, I can try it. So I'm really happy to kind of share it with you. I think it fits a very particular theme. In this case, I think it pairs really, really well with like a modern Flieger, modern field watch, or even just, more minimalist, circular designed, maybe Bauhaus style minimal watches. So I think this has a really cool aesthetic to it, and it's really well made, so I did want to share it with you guys. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay guys, so this one shouldn't be too long just because we're just going to focus on one strap and the details within that strap. This is the model 330. It comes in black color. It's available in 20 and 22 millimeter widths. It has about a 122 millimeter length on the long end, and then on the buckle side, you're getting 80 millimeters. You can get it with a polished or a matte blasted stainless steel buckle. I opted, of course, for the matte blasted, and I will say, depending on the vendor you purchase it from, you may not have a choice. For me to be able to have the choice, I went through Watch Obsession. They're a huge dealer, normally known for selling Hirsch straps, but they do carry Bonetto stuff as well. And I was able to, of course, choose this particular buckle, which, although it's not a perfect match for the hardened steel that's here, it's definitely close enough. Like, it's this probably a little bit more brilliant, a little bit brighter in terms of the finish itself, but you could also get it in polished. And actually, I think this is probably bright enough to where you could get this buckle and it would probably be fine to pair it with something with, like, let's say a brushed finish, because the satin blast on here is actually, again, it has a certain type of glow to it, not quite as matte as the hardened steel case you find on this particular watch. Also, you do get quick release toolless spring bars, which is great for easy installation. You can see it's even reinforced where it's thicker there, and then very thin pretty much throughout. And that's one of the key features I think work really well for this watch. I mean, it basically has a thinness relative to something like let's say a fabric strap, but of course it is going to be much more water resistant and generally kind of a bit more sporty. And I think this is what probably was made to really target stuff like smartwatches, which I think it will work well for, or quartz watches in general. Let's say, or something, a digital watch, just because it's thinner kind of material, goes with something that's lightweight. But what I like is that it's aesthetically, it's very modern because it doesn't have a taper. It has tons of adjustment. It has a very cool little texture to it there that, the matte texture goes with the matte black dial, I think, really well, very versatile. Also, they have a little trick here where one of the keepers, you can see, floats normally, and then this one keeper actually has this little backing so that it'll stay in a hole. And if you don't notice that that's there, you're gonna be like, man, why are these keepers sticking? But I think once you realize that that's set up like that, essentially you can kind of really easily move it around. You just have to make sure you're maneuvering it in a way to where you want it to land where it does. And once you know why it's sticking, also it makes it easier to put in an effort to unstick it, right? To basically move it so that the peg isn't sitting stuck in there. But I really like this, and honestly, like, this watch is such a particular look. I've struggled in terms of different straps to put it on. And I think this one just really suits it well. It's a 40mm case, 20mm lugs, and you can see that non-taper, just for me anyway, it really suits it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below in terms of aesthetically, how well does it flow. It's made out of this high quality vulcanized nitrile NBR rubber, which isn't silicone. It's not a silicone rubber, which means it's not going to attract lint and dust the same way that you might get with a silicone strap. And if you do see any dust on it, typically you can just kind of blow it off. Like, it'll just fly right off there, versus where it's going to really stick to it and it's going to be a dust magnet. So that's definitely something else that I really like about this. I know some people kind of get turned off by the smell on these. I will say, since this is a smaller, it's generally a thinner construction, it's not super smelly. It still has that smell, that vanilla scent, but it's not overpowering like you might get with some of their thicker rubber offerings. And then again, that typically that vanilla scent just covers up the smell of rubber, which not a lot of people like the smell of. So I can kind of see both sides of it, but in this case, I will say the vanilla scent isn't overpowering for those of you that might be sensitive to different smells. I did buy this from Watch Obsession, so I could get the choice and buckle, but doing some searching, you can actually get it from Holben's as well, which I've purchased from before personally for $42, but it does come with the polished buckle only. So if you did want to get the matted buckle to kind of match a matte case, then that's fine. And more brands are doing matted cases. I mean, even if you look at Junghans, they've done some matte cased watches in terms like within just their max bill range, which is a very classic range. I own one, but it's full polished. But if I did have their matted version that looks a little bit more modern, I would say like this would actually pair with it really, really cool. Again, it's thin, it's still sturdy though, and it gives you a little bit of extra robustness in terms of having that rubber construction, which I can appreciate. So with that said, let's actually get it on the wrist. We'll demo it for you because this isn't a watch review. Normally I'd cut away. So here I'm just going to show you. And hopefully I can do a decent enough job of this where I'll just pull it through. There's tons of adjustment holes here, which you guys can see is really great. In terms of finding the right fitment, slide this through. And again, this keeper right here, right now, is just naturally going to find its way to be locked in. But if I did want it to move over more, I just know that I have to do it from the underside until it can find that click again and lock itself in. Let me just give it a quick little dust off here. So you can see I still got a little bit of room in there. This might be a little bit tighter than I would normally wear. It's tough sometimes to kind of gauge it while you're reaching around a tripod. And then I think you can probably see there's a little bit of dust on there. And now, still some dust. We'll say the office is a bit dusty. Let me give it a quick little wipe here. Okay. So now less dusty, right? So it's not going to stick or anything like that, which is nice. And then also, since it's rubber, you can rinse it, wash it. This watch happens to have 200 meters of water resistance. So it's nice to have it on a strap that also is as capable as the case itself. And of course, when I had it up a little bit closer, you can see some lens distortion. It's going to appear a little bit larger. So what I'll do is I'll keep my hand nice and low and then just tighten up the frame here so you guys can get a closer look while keeping some better, proportions in terms of the way you're looking at it with less distortion there, a little bit of a truer aspect ratio. And you can see, the straps themselves have a really nice look to them, right? Like this pattern that's on there almost looks like a woven pattern, and I think it looks really nice. It's matte, it doesn't jump out too much, but it does play with light, and I think these look pretty sweet. And there's tons of holes. Again, whether you have a larger wrist than mine or a smaller wrist, you can get some real play. I think I did probably close this down a little bit too tight, so let's back it off by 1. So I do this sometimes where I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, here's a little fun hack. What I like to do is I'll actually kind of flex my wrist, and there should still be just a little bit of give, so I'll set it there. Again, this first keeper is completely floating, so it doesn't stick at all. And then you might have some break-in period where maybe they're naturally going to stick, but just remember that this second keeper here actually is meant to stick, and the reason why is, of course, so you can keep that extra tongue. So if you have a smaller wrist, that's going to be really, really important for you. You don't want that tongue flapping around. So very, very nice. Again, it wears really well, contours to the wrist. It's nice and pliable, right? Without feeling, let's say, fragile, right? Like it's going to tear or anything like that. It still feels, quite substantial. Feels like a piece of rubber, right? Which I think is nice. And it suits this kind of tougher natured watch that I have it paired with. So let's go ahead and open it back up here, guys. And yeah, I think that, it's not the greatest do-it-all strap that's ever been constructed, but I will say it fills a space, and that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. I'm somebody who can be very, eccentric about pairing watch straps with watch cases. So when I find something that feels like a really good pair, I do want to share it with you guys, because you never know how many of you might also share some of those eccentricities. So closing thoughts, guys. Excellent wear and construction, thin and pliable, again, without feeling fragile or flimsy. The aesthetic, I think, pairs really well with modern Flieger, any kind of minimalist field or even minimalist dress watch. That non-tapering silhouette works especially well with, something with a simple circular case. Here you do have a bit of a wider angle lug, and it still works very fine. But let's say if you did put it on something that's a little bit more Bauhaus inspired on kind of the everyday dress watch side, I think this would still look really, really great. You think of the kind of the straps that are on, like, let's say that Timex, that nicer one that they do with the 9000 series Miyota movement. It's just kind of a cool modern look, and I'm glad to see the aftermarket start offering options that that are updated and stylish. And for those of you maybe who aren't even really into watches, if you're gonna pair this, let's say on your smartwatch or your fitness tracking device, it's definitely a nice strap that'll do the job. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do it like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.